Hello, creatures of the shadows. Welcome to another story that will shake you to your core. Today, I'm going to tell you about the day I was publicly humiliated at my own sister's wedding in front of 200 people. The day she looked me in the eyes and said I didn't belong there. And how a single response from me made an entire room fall into complete, uncomfortable silence. This isn't a revenge story. This is a story about finding your voice when everyone tries to silence you. About dignity. About self-respect. About the moment you finally decide that enough is enough. Grab your drinks, turn off the lights, get comfortable in your chair, because this story has twists and turns you won't forget anytime soon. This is raw, this is real, and this is painful. But first, if you enjoy real stories that expose people's true nature, stories that show the dark side of family relationships, hit that like button right now and subscribe to the channel with notifications on. It really helps me continue bringing these stories to you. And tell me in the comments, have you ever been excluded by your own family? Let's create a support community here. Now, let's begin this story. My name is Sophie. I'm 28 years old. And this is the story of how my family tried to erase me from existence, literally. But for you to understand what happened at that wedding, I need to take you back in time. I need you to know my family, because nothing that happened was an accident. It was the result of 28 years of systematic exclusion. My sister Isabella and I were born 3 years apart. She's the older one. And for as long as I can remember, she's always been the golden child, the favorite, the princess of the family. Isabella was born with all the attributes my parents considered perfect. Natural blonde hair, straight, shiny, light blue eyes, pale skin, delicate, petite, feminine. That type of girl who looks like she stepped out of a shampoo commercial. Me? Well, I was the complete opposite. Brunette, darker skin, rebellious curly hair. Tall since childhood. By age 12, I was already taller than my mother. Outspoken, questioning, messy, tomboyish. And my parents never hid their disappointment. Never. I remember being 8 years old and hearing my grandmother tell my mother, "It's a shame Sophie took after her father's side, right? Isabella is the one who looks like you. So delicate and beautiful." My mother just sighed and agreed. I was standing right there. They didn't care. I grew up hearing comparisons constantly. "Isabella is so elegant, Sophie. Why don't you learn from her? Why don't you dress like your sister? Isabella has so many friends, she's so beloved. You need to be more sociable, Sophie. Can't you be more like your sister?" When Isabella turned 16, she got a massive debutante ball. Huge white dress, waltz with my father, 15 couples of Chamberlains and damas. It was at a fancy club. My parents spent a fortune on it. When I turned 15, I got a family dinner at the neighborhood restaurant. My mother said I wasn't the type who enjoyed parties anyway. I didn't complain. I was already used to it, already numb to the differential treatment. The distance got worse when I started making my own choices that didn't fit their perfect mold. In high school, Isabella chose to study early childhood education. My parents celebrated. What a beautiful profession for a woman. So maternal, so nurturing. I chose civil engineering. The silence at the dinner table was mortifying. My father finally said, "Engineering? Sophie, that's very heavy, very demanding for a young lady. Are you sure? Don't you want to do something more suitable, more appropriate for a woman?" Suitable. That word haunted me for years. "No, Dad. I want engineering." My mother sighed. That sigh of deep disappointment that I knew so well. Isabella graduated and started working at a small neighborhood preschool. My parents visited her workplace constantly, brought gifts for the children, posted proud photos all over social media with long captions about their amazing daughter. I graduated with academic honors, got a job at a major construction company, started making good money, building my career. My parents came to my graduation, but left early because it was taking too long and was boring. Isabella started dating Daniel when she was 23. He was an accountant, traditional family, polite, well-mannered. My parents adored him instantly. Sundays became family lunches with Daniel always present. My father treated him like the son he never had. I dated a few people over the years. I brought 2 boyfriends to meet the family. One had tattoos. My parents barely spoke to him, treated him with cold politeness. Another was black. The discomfort was palpable, although no one said anything explicitly. The tension in the room was suffocating. Eventually, I stopped trying to include my personal life in family gatherings. What was the point? Isabella and Daniel got engaged after 3 years of dating. It was an elaborate proposal with a hidden photographer, rose petals everywhere, the whole Instagram perfect package. My mother cried tears of joy. She called all her friends immediately. Posted 47 photos on Facebook with emotional captions about her baby girl. I was genuinely happy for my sister. It wasn't jealousy or envy. It was a quiet sadness, a deep ache of never having received that kind of enthusiasm for any of my accomplishments. Not one. 3 months before the wedding, I received that phone call from my mother. Sophie, your sister is getting married. Isn't it wonderful? We're so happy, so excited. I faked enthusiasm as best as I could. Gave my congratulations. Asked for details. Tried to sound excited. The wedding will be in September. At the Garden Acacia Club. You know it, right? That beautiful, elegant club. That's great, Mom. How many people are you inviting? Oh, it'll be intimate, dear. Just close family and Isabella and Daniel's most special friends. Very exclusive, very elegant. Intimate. Interesting word. I found out later there were 200 guests. 200 people is not intimate. The invitation arrived 2 weeks later by mail. And that's where the first strange sign appeared, the first red flag I should have paid more attention to. All the invitations were professionally printed with beautiful calligraphy. Names in gold lettering, textured paper, a subtle floral scent. Luxurious, expensive, carefully designed. Mine. My name was written by hand with a pen in the corner of the envelope. Like a last-minute addition, like someone had said, "Oh crap, we forgot about Sophie," and scribbled my name hastily. I opened the invitation. Inside, the standard text. Isabella and Daniel have the pleasure of inviting you. But there were none of those personalized touches that other guests received. No sweet message, no with love, no personal note. Nothing. Just the cold, impersonal printed text. I thought maybe I was being paranoid, reading too much into it. I called Isabella a few days later to confirm my attendance, to be supportive, to try to connect. Hello. Hi, ISA. I got the invitation. Congratulations again. Of course I'll be there. Wouldn't miss it. Brief silence on the other end. Oh yes. Thanks, Sophie. Another weird, uncomfortable pause. Look, it's a very elegant wedding, okay? Very formal, very sophisticated. Please try to dress appropriately this time. Please don't embarrass us. This time. This time, as if I always showed up in pajamas to events, as if I was always an embarrassment to the family. Of course, Isabella. No problem. I'll dress appropriately. And Sophie, one more thing. Try not to call too much attention to yourself, okay? Don't make a scene. It's my special day. My day, not yours. Call attention to myself? Me. The person who always stayed in the corner trying to be invisible, trying not to be a burden? Okay, ISA. See you there. I hung up with a knot in my throat, a sick feeling in my stomach. The following weeks were an emotional roller coaster, a series of small cuts that slowly bled me dry. Isabella created a WhatsApp group called ISA's Bridesmaids. I saw it because my cousin Julia posted a screenshot on her Instagram story, all excited and happy. I wasn't in the group. I wasn't invited to be a bridesmaid. Okay, I thought. That's fine. We're distant anyway. She has close friends. That's fair, that's understandable. But then I started finding out who the bridesmaids actually were, and that's when it really started to hurt. My cousin Julia, who saw Isabella maybe twice a year at most, was a bridesmaid. Amanda, Isabella's college friend who Isabella herself complained about, calling her kind of fake and two-faced, was a bridesmaid. Two work colleagues Isabella had known for less than a year were bridesmaids. And Marcella, a second cousin that nobody in the family was close with, was also a bridesmaid. 5 bridesmaids total. And me, the sister, the blood relative, was completely left out. Excluded. Erased. I tried to participate in the preparations in other ways, tried to be helpful, tried to be included somehow. I offered to help with the decoration planning. We already hired a professional decorator, Sophie. Everything's handled. But thanks anyway. I offered to bake the wedding cake since I've always loved baking and I'm actually pretty good at it. We don't want to risk it, Sophie. It's a very important day. We need everything perfect, professional. Risk it. As if I would ruin her entire wedding with a homemade cake. As if my contribution would somehow taint her perfect day. I offered to help with the gift registry. Daniel's mother is taking care of all of that. She loves that stuff. She's so organized. Daniel's mother. The woman who had known Isabella for 3 years had more right to participate than me, the sister of 28 years. 2 weeks before the wedding, I saw on Instagram that they had thrown a bridal shower. Beautiful photos, pink and gold decoration, all the bridesmaids present, my mother there smiling, Daniel's mother there, everyone looking happy and close. I wasn't invited. I didn't even know it was happening. Nobody told me. Nobody thought to include me. I commented on the photo, "How beautiful," trying to be supportive, trying to show I cared despite the pain. Isabella responded, "Thanks." Just that. 2 words. Cold. Distant. Impersonal. 1 week before the wedding, I couldn't take it anymore. The pain, the exclusion, the constant rejection was too much. I went to my parents' house, desperate for answers, desperate for them to see me. My mother was in the kitchen organizing something for the wedding, busy and distracted. "Mom, I need to talk to you. It's important." "Talk, dear. But make it quick. I'm very busy with wedding preparations." "Mom, I feel like I'm not welcome at Isabella's wedding. I feel invisible, excluded from everything." She stopped what she was doing. She sighed heavily. That sigh. That goddamn sigh of annoyance. "Sophie, for God's sake. Not this again. Don't start with your drama." "Don't start with what, Mom?" "I wasn't included in anything. I'm not a bridesmaid. I wasn't invited to the bridal shower. I haven't been asked to help with." "Sophie." She cut me off, irritated, angry. "Enough. Please. Don't create drama where there is none. It's your sister's day. For once in your life, don't make everything about you and your feelings." I froze, stunned. Make everything about me? "Mom, I'm being systematically excluded and I'm the one making it about me." "Yes. You always want attention. You always want to be different, special, the center of attention. Isabella deserves this moment without you turning it into a drama about your hurt feelings. Can't you just be happy for her? Can't you just show up and be supportive without making demands?" Tears burned in my eyes, threatening to fall. "I just wanted to be part of it, Mom. I just wanted to be included, to be seen as family. You are part of it. You were invited to the wedding. You'll be there. Isn't that enough? What more do you want from us? I realized in that moment, standing in that kitchen, that it would never be enough. That I would never be enough. For her, for Isabella, for this family, I simply wasn't enough. I would never be the daughter they wanted. I left their house without saying another word, feeling hollow and broken inside. The day arrived. September 15th. Saturday. Perfect blue sky, beautiful weather, everything picture perfect. I spent the entire week before carefully choosing the right dress. I wanted something elegant but discreet, something that wouldn't call attention, as Isabella had demanded. I chose a long navy blue dress, classic cut, sophisticated, nothing flashy, nothing attention-grabbing. I bought low nude heels, simple and elegant. I got ready with maximum care, with painful attention to every detail. Hair pulled back in an elegant low bun. Soft, natural makeup, nothing dramatic. Small pearl earrings, delicate and classic. I looked like I was going to a job interview, not to my sister's wedding celebration. But that's what they wanted, right? For me to be invisible, to blend into the background, to not exist. I arrived at the church at 3:30 p.m. The ceremony would start at 4 p.m. The parking lot was already full of luxury cars. There was floral decoration at the church entrance, a red carpet rolled out, photographers everywhere setting up equipment. I walked inside, took a deep breath, prepared myself. And that's when I received the first blow of the day, the first cut. The church was divided with decorative ribbons. Bride's side, groom's side. And on the pews, there were small name cards everywhere. Reserved seats. I started looking for my name, walking slowly down the aisle, searching. First row, Almeida family, parents of the bride, paternal grandparents, maternal grandparents. Second row, aunts and uncles, with specific names listed individually. Third row, godparents and bridesmaids. Fourth row, close family members. Fifth row, nothing with my name. I kept searching, my heart sinking with each step. Sixth, seventh, eighth row. There. Ninth row. Family and friends, with a generic list. My name was there. On a small generic card. Ninth row, almost at the back of the church. The sister of the bride. In the ninth row, as far from the altar as possible without being outside. I looked around, trying to process this, trying not to cry. Cousin Julia, who was a bridesmaid, was in the third row right up front. Aunts and uncles I saw maybe once a year were in the second row. Isabella's college friends were in the fifth row. And me. Ninth row. With strangers. I felt my stomach turn, felt nauseous. But I breathed deeply, forced myself to stay calm. Survive the day, Sophie. Just smile and survive. Don't make a scene. Don't give them more reasons to exclude you. I sat in my assigned seat. Next to me, people I didn't know started arriving. Polite introductions, forced smiles. They were friends of Daniel, I discovered. Co-workers from his accounting firm who barely knew the couple. The church filled up slowly. Soft music playing, photographers positioned strategically, everything beautiful, everything orchestrated perfectly. My mother entered, escorted by my father down the aisle. She looked stunning in a golden dress, elegant and sophisticated. As she walked past, she looked back briefly. Our eyes met for just a second. She looked away quickly, purposefully, coldly. The bridesmaids entered next, walking slowly down the aisle in pairs. All gorgeous in matching light pink dresses, carrying small bouquets. Julia saw me and gave a tiny, uncomfortable wave. At least someone acknowledged my existence, at least someone saw me. And then the wedding march began. Everyone stood up, turned toward the entrance. Isabella entered on my father's arm, and I have to admit, She looked absolutely breathtaking. She was radiant. Perfect white dress with a long train, flowing veil, huge happy smile. My father was crying tears of joy and pride, openly emotional. For one brief, painful moment, I forgot all the hurt. She was my sister. And she looked beautiful. And despite everything, I wanted her to be happy. The ceremony was genuinely moving. Beautiful vows, Daniel crying, Isabella crying, the priest's touching words. Even I got emotional, felt tears forming. They kissed. Loud applause erupted. Happy music played. Joy filled the church. And then came the part for official family photos, and that's when the second cut happened. The photographer called out loudly, "Bride's immediate family, please come forward for photos." My parents stood up immediately. Grandparents shuffled forward. Primary aunts and uncles moved to the front. I stood up too, automatically, instinctively. I started walking toward the front of the church where everyone was gathering around Isabella and Daniel. The photographer was organizing people, positioning them carefully. I was about to step into the group when I heard my mother whisper something quietly to the photographer, leaning in close to his ear. He looked at me, then back at her, and nodded in understanding. He walked over to me. "Excuse me, miss. Just immediate family for this set of photos. We'll do extended family photos afterward, okay?" Immediate family. I wasn't immediate family. The sister wasn't immediate family. "I'm her sister," I said quietly, feeling humiliated. "Oh, I'm so sorry, I didn't realize. But, we're doing a very specific shot right now. We'll make sure to get you in the extended family photos later, I promise." I looked past him to my mother. She was deliberately not looking at me, arranging her dress, fussing with Isabella's veil. I walked back to my seat in the 9th row, sat down heavily, swallowed the tears that were threatening to spill over. I watched from far away as they took photo after photo after photo. Different combinations, different poses. Smiling, laughing, embracing. The extended family photos never happened. They never called me back. After the immediate family shots, they moved straight to bridal party photos, then couple shots. I was never included. Not in a single photograph. Erased from the official family record of the day. The reception was at the club, just 10 minutes from the church. I drove there alone, sitting in my car for a few minutes before going in, trying to compose myself, trying to gather strength. The hall was absolutely stunning when I finally walked in. Enormous crystal chandeliers hanging from the ceiling. Tables decorated with white and gold arrangements, perfect roses, elegant candles flickering. A central dance floor with professional lighting. A dessert table that looked like something from a magazine spread. Everything perfect. Everything expensive. Everything planned to the smallest detail. I looked for my seat assignment, walking slowly through the beautifully decorated space. There was a gorgeous display panel at the entrance with the seating chart. I searched for my name, running my finger down the list. Table 1. Newlyweds. Table 2, parents and grandparents. Table 3, godparents and bridesmaids. Tables 4, 8, close family and special friends. Tables 9, 12, friends and colleagues. Tables 13, 15, acquaintances and extended family. My name? Table 15. The absolute last table in the entire venue. Literally the farthest possible distance from the head table. Pushed against the back wall, partially hidden by a large decorative column. I walked there in a state of shock, feeling numb. I sat down. Other people at the table started arriving gradually. None of them I knew or recognized. Polite small talk revealed they were distant work colleagues of Daniel. People who barely knew the couple, people who had maybe met them once or twice. And me, the sister, was seated with them. With strangers. In the corner. Hidden away. I looked toward the front of the massive hall. The head table seemed miles away. I could barely see Isabella, radiant and glowing. Daniel beside her looking happy. My parents talking animatedly, laughing, toasting with champagne. There was even an empty seat at table 4, I noticed. I found out later it was for a friend of Isabella's who had a last-minute emergency and couldn't attend. They preferred to leave a seat completely empty rather than put me there. Rather than include me with family. The party began in full swing. Grand entrance of the newlyweds with sparklers and music. First dance, a beautiful waltz. Speeches from the best man and maid of honor. I tried to participate from my distant corner. I smiled when it seemed appropriate. I applauded when everyone else did. I pretended to be fine, pretended this wasn't destroying me inside. But inside, I was falling apart, crumbling, breaking into pieces. Then came the moment for Isabella's thank you speech, her time to address all the guests. She took the microphone from the DJ. Huge smile, eyes shining with happy tears, glowing with joy. Everyone, I need to thank some very special people who made this day possible. My heart started racing. Maybe, just maybe, she would mention me. Maybe she'd acknowledge my presence, my existence. First, my incredible husband. Daniel, you are my dream come true, my everything. Collective awe from the crowd. They kissed sweetly while everyone clapped. My parents. Mom, Dad, you gave me everything. This party, this life, this unconditional love. I love you infinitely, more than words can express. She was crying now, emotional and genuine. My mother was crying too, dabbing her eyes with a tissue. My beautiful bridesmaids. You girls made this whole process so special, so fun. Julia, Amanda, Marcella, Carol, Danny. I love each of you so much. Each name mentioned individually and specifically. Applause after each one. Smiles and blown kisses. My amazing godparents, my dear aunts and uncles who've always supported me, my wonderful mother-in-law who welcomed me as her own daughter. The list continued and continued, each person receiving their moment of recognition, their acknowledgement, their validation. I waited. I kept waiting for my name, holding my breath. And I want to thank everyone who is here tonight. Each person in this room is special to Daniel and me. Each of you holds a place in our hearts. She paused dramatically, looked around the entire room slowly, deliberately. Her eyes passed over table 15, over me sitting there in my navy dress, hands folded, watching her. I especially want to thank my true family. The people who have always been by my side, unconditionally and without question, who supported me in every single decision, who loved me exactly as I am, without judgment. She was looking directly at me now, making deliberate eye contact across the distance. The people who truly belong here. The people who are really family. The entire hall fell into complete silence for about 3 seconds. Some guests looked around, confused by the odd emphasis. Others looked specifically at me, seeming to sense something was wrong. My face was burning hot with shame and anger. I felt like someone had thrown ice water on me, like I'd been slapped publicly. Isabella smiled brightly and continued as if nothing had happened. Thank you all so much for being here. Now let's celebrate and dance the night away. Upbeat music started playing again. People stood up to congratulate the newlyweds, moving toward the head table. The party resumed its energy and flow. But I was completely paralyzed in my chair, unable to move or breathe properly. Truly belong here. She hadn't just forgotten to mention my name. She had explicitly, deliberately, publicly excluded me. In front of 200 witnesses. She had told everyone in that room that I was not real family. That I did not belong. I felt hot tears starting to fall down my cheeks, ruining my careful makeup. I stood up quickly, shakily. I needed to leave immediately. I needed to get out of this hall, out of this nightmare. I started walking rapidly toward the exit, head down, trying not to let anyone see me crying. I was almost at the door, almost escaped, when I heard her voice on the microphone again, loud and clear. "Oh, Sophie. Leaving already so soon." Every single person in that hall turned to look at me. 200 pairs of eyes. I stopped walking, frozen in the middle of the room like a deer in headlights. "You barely just got here. The party is only beginning. Don't you want to stay and celebrate with us?" There was something in her voice, a tone I recognized. Mockery, cruelty disguised as playfulness. She was enjoying this, enjoying my humiliation. Some people laughed awkwardly, not understanding the context, thinking this was sisterly teasing. My mother was staring at me with that expression, that look that said, "Don't you dare make a scene, Sophie. Don't you dare embarrass us." And something inside me snapped. Not broke. Snapped. Like a wire pulled too tight for too long. It wasn't rage or anger. It was absolute clarity. Crystal clear understanding. 28 years of being invisible. 28 years of not being good enough. 28 years of swallowing humiliation silently, of accepting crumbs of affection, of begging for scraps of love. And now this. Being excluded, being humiliated publicly, and then being mocked when I tried to leave with the tiny shred of dignity I had left. No. Absolutely not. Not anymore. Never again. I turned around slowly, and instead of walking to the exit, I started walking deliberately toward the head table. Toward Isabella. Toward my family. Each step was a conscious choice. My hands were trembling violently. My heart was pounding so hard I could hear it in my ears. But my steps were steady and determined. The hall became progressively quieter as I walked. Conversations died. Music seemed to fade. People sensed something was about to happen. I reached the head table. Stood there facing them. Isabella was standing, microphone in hand, smile uncertain now, faltering. "Isabella," my voice came out stronger than I expected, clearer. "Can I talk to you? Privately would be better." She laughed nervously, glancing at our parents. "Sophie, this really isn't the time or place. It's my wedding reception. I know exactly what it is. That's precisely why this needs to happen now." My mother stood up from her seat abruptly. "Sophie, do not make a scene here. I'm warning you. Don't do this." "A scene, Mom?" I looked at her directly. What exactly would constitute a scene? Worse than being seated at the last table in the venue? Worse than not being mentioned in the thank you speech? Worse than being publicly told I don't truly belong here, that I'm not real family? Some people nearby gasped quietly. Others whispered to each other. The discomfort in the room was thick and palpable. My father stood up too. "Sophie, that's enough. You're embarrassing yourself and everyone here." "No, Dad. I'm finally telling the truth. There's a difference." I turned to face the entire room. All 200 guests watching me with wide eyes. "I'm sorry to interrupt this beautiful celebration, but I think everyone here deserves to know the truth. The real truth, not the pretty Instagram version." Isabella reached for me. "Sophie, stop. Please just stop." "No, I won't stop. I've stopped for 28 years. I've stayed quiet for 28 years. I'm done stopping." I took a deep, shaky breath and continued. "My name is Sophie. I am the bride's sister. Her biological sister. Her blood sister. You might not know that because I wasn't mentioned in her speech tonight. I wasn't included in the thank you list. I'm not a bridesmaid. I wasn't in the official family photos at the church. I don't have a seat at the main table, or even close to it. I'm at table 15, in the back corner, with people who don't even know the couple. I looked directly at Isabella, my voice getting stronger. For 3 months, I tried to be part of this wedding. I offered to help with decorations, refused. I offered to help with planning, refused. I offered to bake the cake, refused. I tried to participate, to be included, to be seen. And I was shut out of everything, systematically excluded from every single aspect. My voice cracked with emotion, but I pushed through. And today I came here hoping, like an absolute fool, like an idiot, that maybe, just maybe, I would finally be included. That maybe my family would finally see me, would finally treat me like I matter, like I belong. Tears were streaming down my face now, but I didn't care anymore. But you made it crystal clear. You seated me in the farthest possible corner. You didn't mention my name once. You looked me in the eyes and told 200 people that I don't truly belong here. I looked at my mother, my father, then back at Isabella. Do you know why? Why I don't belong? Because I'm different. Because I'm not blonde with blue eyes. Because I chose engineering instead of teaching. Because I don't fit into your perfect little mold of what a woman should be. Because I'm tall and outspoken and I didn't need you to build my life. Some people in the crowd were crying now. Others looked shocked and uncomfortable. For 28 years, you made me feel like something was fundamentally wrong with me. Like I was the disappointment, the mistake, the black sheep who ruined the perfect family picture. I looked at my father, who was staring at the floor. Dad, you cried walking Isabella down the aisle today. It was beautiful. But when I graduated with honors from one of the hardest engineering programs in the state, you left early because it was taking too long. You couldn't even stay for the whole ceremony. He closed his eyes, jaw clenched. I looked at my mother, who was crying now. Mom, you posted 47 photos when Isabella got engaged. 47. Long emotional captions, tagging all your friends, crying with joy. When I got my first major engineering job at a top company, you said, "That's nice, dear," and immediately changed the subject. You never even asked about it again. I turned back to Isabella for the final words. And you, my sister, you told me I don't belong here. That the people who truly belong are those who support you unconditionally. I took a step closer to her. But you know what, Isabella? I did support you. Always. When you failed calculus in college, who tutored you for weeks until you finally passed? Me. When you fought with your best friend last year and sobbed on the phone, who listened to you for 3 hours straight? Me. When you had doubts about whether Daniel was the right man, who gave you advice until 3 a.m.? Me. My voice broke completely, but I forced myself to finish. But I'm not blonde. I'm not delicate. I don't fit in your perfect Instagram aesthetic. So my support doesn't count. My presence doesn't matter. My existence is just an inconvenience you have to tolerate. The silence was absolutely deafening. No one moved. No one breathed. You said I don't belong here. And you know what? I pulled an envelope from my purse, opened it slowly. Inside was a check. You're absolutely right. I don't belong here. I held up the check for everyone to see. This was my wedding gift to you. $3,000. Money I saved for months, sacrificed for, worked overtime for. I was going to help with your honeymoon, with furniture for your new house, with starting your life together. I looked at the check one last time. But you know what I'm going to do with this money instead? I tore the check slowly, deliberately, ripped it into multiple pieces while everyone watched. I'm going to use it for therapy, to start healing from the damage this family has caused, to learn how to value myself, since none of you ever did. To build a life where I am enough, where I don't have to beg for scraps of love and basic respect. I let the pieces flutter to the floor like confetti. You don't deserve my presence. You don't deserve my love. You don't deserve another single second of my time or energy. I looked at Isabella one final time. I truly wish you happiness in your marriage. I genuinely mean that. I hope you find joy. But this is the last time, the absolute last time, I will accept being treated as less than. As the backup sister. As the family member you're ashamed of and try to hide. I looked at my parents. You failed me. As parents, as family, as human beings. And I wasted 28 years trying to earn love that you were never going to give me. But I'm done now. Completely done. I turned to address the room one final time. I apologize for interrupting this celebration. But some of you needed to hear this. Some of you have children, have siblings, have family members you treat differently. And maybe, just maybe, this will make you think twice before you create more broken people who spend their whole lives feeling not good enough. I started walking toward the exit, head held high despite the tears. No one spoke. No one moved. The only sound was my heels clicking on the marble floor. When I was almost at the door, I heard a voice call out, "Sophie, wait. Please wait." It was Daniel, the groom. He had stood up and was walking toward me quickly. "Daniel, don't," Isabella said sharply, but he ignored her completely. He reached me, slightly out of breath. His eyes were red, emotional. I didn't know. I swear I didn't know any of this. None of it. I looked at him, exhausted. Now you know. I'm so sorry. For the seating, for the exclusion, for everything. I'm so incredibly sorry. He looked genuinely devastated, genuinely shocked. It's not your fault, Daniel. You didn't create this dynamic. They did. For decades, they carefully built this. I glanced back at Isabella. She was standing there frozen, mascara running, the microphone hanging limply in her hand. Take care of her, Daniel. But please don't let her do to other people what they did to me. Break the cycle. I walked out of that hall and never looked back. Literally. I drove home, packed a bag, and stayed at a hotel for 3 days with my phone turned off. The aftermath was intense and messy. My phone exploded with messages when I finally turned it back on. Hundreds of texts, missed calls, voicemails. Some relatives were angry. Aunts saying I ruined the wedding, that I was selfish and cruel. Cousins saying I should have handled it privately, that public humiliation wasn't the answer. But others were supportive. Cousin Julia sent me long voice messages apologizing, saying she had been blind to how badly they treated me. Some cousins who were at the wedding sent supportive texts, "You were so brave." Someone needed to say it. We all saw how they treated you, but nobody had the courage to speak up. My father called on Sunday morning, 2 days after the wedding. "Sophie, we need to talk about what you did." "No, Dad. We really don't need to talk. You embarrassed us, humiliated us in front of 200 people. What will people think of our family now?" I actually laughed. No humor in it. That's what worries you, Dad? What people will think. Not the fact that you completely failed one of your daughters for her entire life. Silence on the other end. You're being dramatic, Sophie. You've always been so dramatic and oversensitive. No, Dad. I was neglected and emotionally abused. There's a significant difference. I hung up. He called back 12 times. I blocked his number. My mother tried a different approach, sending me a long text message designed to guilt me. "Sophie, I know you're hurt, but what you did was unforgivable. You ruined your sister's wedding day, the most important day of her life. How are we supposed to move past this as a family? I responded simply, we're not going to move past it. Because I'm done being your emotional punching bag. Consider this my official resignation from this toxic family. She called immediately. I didn't answer. She called 23 more times over the next week. I blocked her number too. Then, 3 days after the wedding, I received a message from an unknown number. Hi Sophie. It's Daniel. Can I call you? I need to talk to you. It's important. My heart raced. What could he possibly want? You can call. Seconds later, my phone rang. Hello. Sophie. Thank you for answering. I really appreciate it. He sounded exhausted, emotionally drained. What do you want, Daniel? I needed to thank you. For what you said. For having the courage to speak the truth. I was confused. Thank me. Yes. Sophie, I genuinely didn't know. I swear on everything. Isabella always talked about you, but in this distant way, like you two just weren't close. I assumed it was normal sibling distance, you know? I have a brother I barely talk to, so I didn't think much of it. Okay. But after what you said, after your speech, I started noticing things. Small things I had missed or ignored. The way your mother talked about you versus how she talked about Isabella. How your father changed the subject whenever your name came up. How Isabella made decisions that specifically, deliberately excluded you. He took a shaky breath. And I confronted her. After all the guests left, back in our hotel suite, I asked her directly. Why was your sister at table 15? Why wasn't she a bridesmaid? Why did you exclude her from your thank you speech? What did she say? I asked, curious despite myself. At first, she denied everything. Said I was exaggerating, that you've always been dramatic, that you like creating problems. The same things your mother said. Of course. The same script they always used. But I kept pushing. I told her what I saw, what I felt during your speech. And eventually, she broke down. She admitted it. Admitted what exactly? That she's jealous of you. Deeply, intensely jealous. I actually laughed out loud. Jealous? Of me. The family disappointment. She said you've always been smarter than her. More independent. That you built an impressive career without anyone's help while she needed your parents for everything. That you're strong and she's always felt weak compared to you. That you never needed their approval and she's desperate for it. I sat in stunned silence, processing this information. She said all the exclusion, all the cruelty, was her way of punishing you. For being what she couldn't be. For having what she didn't have, real strength and independence. That doesn't justify anything, Daniel. Nothing justifies 28 years of emotional abuse. I know. I told her exactly that. I said what she did, what they all did, was cruel and completely unforgivable. How did she react to that? She cried. A lot. Said she knew it was wrong but couldn't stop. That the whole family validated this behavior, reinforced it, so she kept doing it. She said she felt threatened by you, so she tried to make you feel small. I felt tears forming again. Daniel, why are you telling me all this? Because you deserved to know the truth. And because I'm rethinking a lot of things about my marriage, about the person I married. Rethinking what? Whether I want to build a family with someone capable of treating their own sister this way. Whether I want my future children growing up in this kind of toxic dynamic. Whether I can respect someone who would do what she did to you. Oh, that was significant. Daniel. I'm not saying I'm getting divorced, but we started couples therapy on Monday, 3 days after the wedding. And there's a lot of serious work to do. She has a lot to unpack and change. I wish you luck with that, genuinely. Sophie, do you think you could ever forgive her? Ever forgive any of them? I thought about it carefully before answering honestly. I don't know. Maybe someday, but not now. Forgiveness isn't something I owe her or any of them. It's not a debt I have to pay. And right now, I need to focus on healing myself, not on making them feel better about what they did. I understand completely. That's fair. But Daniel, thank you for calling, for being honest, for actually listening and seeing what happened. Thank you for speaking up. You made me see things I desperately needed to see. You might have saved me from making a terrible mistake. We said goodbye and hung up. That was 6 months ago. Today, I'm in a completely different place mentally and emotionally. I cut off all contact with my immediate family, blocked my mother, father, and Isabella on everything. I maintain minimal contact with a few cousins and aunts who supported me, but it's superficial and boundaried. I'm in therapy twice a week, and it's been revelatory and healing, understanding how much trauma I've been carrying my whole life, how much my self-esteem was systematically destroyed, but also discovering how much strength I actually have, how resilient I am. I moved to a new apartment across town, a fresh space where no memories of them exist. I decorated it my way, with my colors, my style, my personality finally expressed freely. I got promoted at work to project manager, making good money, being recognized for my actual merits and talents. I made new friends through a hiking group and a book club, people who value me for who I actually am, not who they want me to be. And I learned something crucial, something life-changing. Family isn't blood. Family is choice. It's mutual respect. It's genuine unconditional love, not conditional tolerance. The people who love me now are the ones I chose, and who chose me back, fully and completely. Isabella has tried to reach out several times through cousins. She wants to talk. She regrets everything. She wants to apologize and make things right. I haven't responded. I don't plan to. Because some bridges, once burned completely, shouldn't be rebuilt. Sometimes the healthiest thing is to let them stay burned and move forward without looking back. This isn't about revenge or punishment. It's about self-preservation. It's about protecting the person I'm becoming from the people who spent 28 years trying to destroy who I was. My mother apparently had a breakdown at a family gathering, according to cousin Julia. Crying, saying she lost a daughter, that she doesn't understand what she did wrong. A small part of me feels sorry for her. A very small, distant part. But the larger part, the part that's healing and growing stronger every day, feels relieved. Free. Finally at peace. Sometimes the greatest act of self-love isn't forgiveness, isn't rebuilding bridges, isn't giving people more chances to hurt you. Sometimes it's simply walking away and building a completely new life where you don't have to fight for crumbs of affection and basic respect, where you're either loved completely and fully, or you're not tolerated at all, where you finally understand your worth. This was my story. The story of how I was humiliated at my sister's wedding and finally found my voice, my strength, my freedom. If you've experienced anything similar, family exclusion, favoritism, emotional abuse, being the scapegoat, know that you're not alone. You're not crazy. And you deserve so much more than what they're giving you. You deserve to be seen, to be valued, to be loved completely for exactly who you are. And if your family can't do that, it's not you who's broken, it's them. It's the system they created. And you have every right to walk away and build something better. Leave your stories in the comments. Let's create a support community here, of people who understand, who survived, who are rebuilding themselves piece by piece. If this video touched you in any way, hit that like button. Subscribe for more real stories from the shadows of family dysfunction. And remember, sometimes the family that matters most is the one you build yourself, not the one you were born into. Until the next story. And please, take care of yourselves. Really, truly take care.